This folder contains 2 KPI exports, 5 project updates, and 1 contradiction I planted on purpose. I gave all of it to a reporting workflow and asked for the weekly operations report I would normally build by hand. It produced a draft in 1.3 milliseconds on the first clean run. But the useful part is not the prose. It is this evidence ledger, which tells me where every number and status came from, and stops the report when the sources disagree. The test company is fictional. The data is fictional. The workflow is deliberately constrained. It can read 1 input folder and write 1 draft report. It cannot send email, edit the source files, post to chat, or publish anything. That boundary is the point. If an AI workflow can write polished sentences, but cannot show its evidence, it is not safe enough for weekly reporting. The manual version looks harmless. Open this week's KPI export. Open last week's export. Calculate the changes. Read the project notes. Find the blockers. Then turn everything into a short update for someone who will skim it between meetings. For this small fictional account, I estimated the manual baseline at 18 minutes. The expensive part is not typing. It is checking whether every sentence matches a source. The workflow has 6 gates. First, accept only files on an allow list. Second, validate the columns and dates. Third, calculate every KPI change with deterministic logic, not the language model. Fourth, draft only from supplied evidence. Fifth, create a claims ledger. And sixth, pause for human approval. The agent writes words. The input folder contains 5 approved files: current KPIs, prior KPIs, project statuses, operator notes, and metric definitions. If a file is missing, the run stops. If the CSV headers change, the run stops. If a metric is absent, the workflow does not ask the model to make sense of it. I also keep metric definitions beside the data, because qualified lead sounds obvious until 2 teams count it differently. Next, the workflow calculates the changes. Revenue increased from $31,400 to $38,200. That is a $6,800 increase, or 21.7%. Qualified leads increased from 24 to 31. Overdue invoices fell from 5 to 3. These numbers are produced by fixed logic. Calculation is a solved problem. The model does not need to improvise arithmetic. Now, the workflow creates the draft and the claim ledger. Every sentence with a number, deadline, owner, or project status gets a source reference. The clean run produced 14 checked claims. 12 are safe. 2 needed review because they touched the planted contradiction. That distinction matters. A polished paragraph is difficult to validate. Structured claims can be checked one by one before they become prose. Here is the trap. The project file says Project Atlas is on track. The operator notes say client approval is 2 days late. A careless system could blend those into a confident sentence like Project Atlas remains on track despite a minor approval delay. That may be true, but neither source actually says it. The safer output is less elegant and more useful. Status conflict. Project file reports on track. Operator note reports client approval 2 days late. I ran the workflow twice from the same clean input folder. Clean run 1 took 1.3 milliseconds. Clean run 2 took 1.4 milliseconds. Both runs checked 14 claims against the answer key. Both runs detected the Atlas contradiction. The local deterministic proof run used no paid model call, so the model API cost was $0. That cost number would change if you replace the deterministic draft step with a cloud model, so it should be measured again before a production build. The review screen is the product. Green means the source and calculation passed. Amber means context is incomplete. Red means the sources conflict or the validator failed. For this fictional account, I estimated the review time at 4 minutes. That is the number I care about. The runtime looks good on a thumbnail. The total human time determines whether the system is useful. The lesson is not that AI should write your weekly report. The lesson is that a reporting workflow needs evidence, deterministic maths, contradiction checks, and a person before distribution. If you want the checklist I use before automating a workflow like this, comment checklist. Next, Invisible Operator will turn this reporting build into a reusable workflow template and test where it breaks.